Breaking news. A recent study reports that a growing number of Black Americans are discovering DNA connections and ancestral links that they believe trace back to the ancient Israelites. The implications of these findings are profound, sparking renewed interest in cultural heritage, identity, and historical narratives within communities across the nation.
Surveys indicate that a growing percentage of Americans believe that the descendants of those brought across the transatlantic slave trade are descendants of the ancient Israelites, highlighting ongoing debate about history, identity, and ancestry.
We have more on this developing report. Our team has been examining the historical, genealogical, and cultural discussions surrounding these claims and the growing public interest they continue to generate. Here are some interviews and testimonies from around the world. The last one will blow your mind.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
I'm sorry. My responses are limited. You must ask the right questions.
Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
That, detective, is the right question.
Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
Berea Scholar. Berea Scholar. Waking up the people of the Most High. Got the knowledge to destroy the lies. DNA, history, open eyes. Walk into the darkness and turn on the lights. Wake up, 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 wake up.
And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. You know, so what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on. And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on.
And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on.
Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake!
Origin of the Yoruba and the Lost Tribes of Israel by Dirk Lounge. On the basis of comparative studies between the dynastic tradition of the Oyo Yoruba and ancient Near Eastern history, the present article argues that Yoruba traditions of provenance claiming immigration from the Near East are basically correct. According to Oyo Yoruba tradition, the ancestral Yoruba saw the Assyrian conquest of the Israelite kingdom from the 9th and the 8th centuries before Christ from the perspective of the Israelites. After the fall of Samaria in 722 BC, they were deported to eastern Syria and adopted the ruling Assyrian kings as their own. The collapse of the Assyrian Empire is, however, mainly seen through the eyes of the Babylonian conquerors of the Nineveh in 612 before Christ. Basically, the Yoruba have a great history and well-documented kingship record that place their origin in the Near East, which is also called the Middle East if you would prefer. After analyzing the record, Dirk Lounge concludes that the Yoruba history is the history of the Israelites, so they are one and the same. After the Assyrian captivity of Israel, the Yoruba history is then seen from the lens of the Assyrian king whom they have adopted as their own. and then subsequently through the lands of the Babylonians, probably due to assimilation prior to their migration to Sub-Sahara Africa. Well, it does get even more interesting. Let's go down to page 583 where he writes, "The name Yoruba itself is, however, more likely to have been derived from the name of Jeroboam, designating the founder of the northern Israelite kingdom." You must wonder, what does the name Jeroboam have to do with the name Yoruba? Let's look into the name of Jeroboam in the so-called Hebrew Bible. Strong H3379 transliterates Jeroboam as Yarobam. Are you surprised? If you can say Yoruba and Yarobam 10 times in succession without mixing them up, then all praises. On page 592, Dr. Dirk Lange writes, "From a comparative analysis of Oyo dynastic tradition and ancient Near Eastern history, it appears that Israelites migrated to West Africa subsequently to the fall of the Assyrian Empire, and that their descendants survive as the core people of the present-day Oyo Yoruba. Indeed, Oyo tradition reveals that the ancestral Yoruba were mainly composed of Israelites who, in the course of their history, became influenced by Assyrian views of past events."
We did the same thing to the African. And what we find here is that you're associated with several tribes that are predominantly found in the western part of Africa. So then we did one more thing.
Okay.
We asked, where would we find your closest DNA matches? And when we did that, what we found was a gentleman who's your cousin.
What?
I've seen when black people claim that the ancient Hebrews and Jews were black people and Jesus was not a white man. Many white people come across and say, okay, Jesus was not a white man, but he wasn't a black person either. Because he was from the Middle East, and therefore, according to them, he must have looked like Arabs. But this is a fallacy. Just because the modern population of a region looks like X doesn't mean that the ancient inhabitants of that region looked also like X. For example, look at Australia. Are white Australians descended from the ancient Aborigines? Or are white Mexicans descended from the ancient Mayans? Of course not. The Middle East is the most melting pot region of the world. There are black, white, brown, Indian-looking and Mongoloid-looking people in this region, all of whom claim to be native and indigenous to this region. And for example, in Arabs, there are black, white, and mixed, the so-called brown Arabs, all of whom claim to be the real Arabs. But which of them is the real Arab? The black one, the white one, or the brown one? The same goes for Iran. There are many different ethnic groups in Iran. There are Mongoloid-looking Turkmens, there are Indian-looking Baluch, there are native blacks, there are white-looking Turks, there are mixed-looking Kurds and Lurs. Which of them is the true Iranian? And unlike what the believers of the Indo-European hoax claim the white-looking people in this region are not descended from the ancient mythical Indo-Europeans. These people are mostly Turks or descended from Turks. For example, here in Iran, up to 40% of people are Turks, and I don't know how many of them are descended from Turks, meaning are related to Turks. And the most white-looking people of Iran are mostly Turks, but there are also Russian, Georgian, and Armenian people too living in this region. And we all know that Turks are not an indigenous people to this region. They came from southern Russia and the Central Asia in recent centuries. And they cannot be an indigenous people to this region. The ancient inhabitants of the ancient peoples of the Middle East were all different types of black people, different groups of black people. Assyrians were a black people, Persians were a black people, Elamites were a black people, and Arabs, yes, were a black people. That's why you see Assyrians have depicted themselves with curly hair, curly beard, and dreadlocks. That's why you see Persians have depicted themselves with curly hair and curly beard. And even there are many wall paintings found in Susa in which Persians have depicted themselves with black skin, have painted themselves with black skin. So therefore, Persians were black people, not a so-called Indo-European.
DNA does not lie. For a white person, a white-skinned person, to give birth to a Negro melanated person without interacting with another Negro melanated person. The genetic order is black-skinned first. The Y haplogroup, the Y DNA of men, cannot be mixed together. So there's no way to get a black race from a white race. You can only get a white race from a black race, all right? So there is absolutely no scientific way that a white Jew could be alpha over a set of genetic true Israelites. But the real evidence is at the Lakish relief in London, which was taken from so-called Israel Today, where they have a whole pit full of skulls that they examined, and most of the skulls were dolichocephalic, and a DNA sample was taken, and it was E1B1A. Also, mitochondrial Eve's DNA sample was taken from that same region in Israel, and it was LO. So if you're looking at the 12 tribes of Israel, the male DNA is E1B1A from that site. And if you actually look at the Lakish relief, all of the persecuted Israelites have extremely knotty, kinky heads of hair, and their skin is black. And those are the true Israelites at the British Museum being thrown into the water. Not the people throwing them in with the pointy hats, but the people being thrown into the water with the afros and beards. That's Israel. So it's been scientifically proven, genetically proven, and geographically proven. There are 4 female mtDNA chromosomes that accompany the E1B1A male throughout the planet. And they are L0, 1, 2, and 3, which correspond with mitochondrial Eve. Now, that's the scientific evidence and the geographical evidence and the archaeological evidence. But the biblical evidence tells us, according to Luke 21 and 24, that Israel would fall by the edge of the sword and be led away captive into all nations until the times of the Gentiles would be fulfilled. And Yahuwah says in Deuteronomy that he would hide his people and cause the nations to forget who they are. In Deuteronomy 28, he lists all the curses that would come against true Israel. That they would go into slavery, that they would be the tail and not the head, that everyone would come up over them, that they would be enslaved to all nations, and that another man would sleep with their wives, and that their children would be taken away captive into slavery. This is how you identify Israel by reading through simply Deuteronomy 28. Key in Deuteronomy 28 is verse 48, which says that you will go into slavery with a yoke of iron around your neck. In verse 68, it says you will go to Egypt again as a slave and no one will redeem you. The word for bayou is redeem you, because the law of the Hebrew Israelites was that a kinsman redeemer would go and pay the ransom to redeem their people out of slavery. The only kinsman redeemer Israel has today is Yahushua HaMashiach, the Savior. And there is no period in time when those people who say they are JEWS and are not and are of the synagogue of Satan, according to Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, those people have never been in slavery. There's no images or documentation of them being in slavery, none whatsoever, but there's plenty of the African diaspora being in slavery.
So what I mean, if you may, please let me come in. Yeah.
Yes.
No. What I'm saying,
I'll let you know to stop. Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, we are the true Israelites.
Yes.
The Igbo people of Nigeria
are the original.
Not because some people are saying Eastern Nigeria. The Igbos are not only settled in Eastern Nigeria. We have Igbos in the northern part of Nigeria, which is Benue State.
Yes.
We have the Igbos of Cross River State.
Yes.
We have the Igbos of River State, Akwa Ibom State, Igbos of
Yoruba.
In Africa.
Yeah, we have Igbos in Equatorial Guinea.
Yes.
Igbo is one of the major tribes in Equatorial Guinea. So what I'm about to say is, we are the original Israelites. So take it to anywhere, take it to any debate, take it to any social media or any media platform. We are here to defend what we have here, rather than making logic, baseless logic.
Call themselves Biafrans to come out from Nigeria, because our customs, our build, everything about us differs from the northern. That's it. And if you go to Aguleri, Anambra State, Aguleri in Anambra State, Anam West and Anam East, there you find some relics that proves that part of the southern states of Nigeria, especially the Igbo area, they are the part of the lost tribe of Israel.
Wow.
So it is there, it is documented. Yeah. So all these things that makes Nigeria what it is today is just a collection of many tribes, many people. Like our bill, if you see our structural building or our appearances, it differs from the north.
Yeah.
And the way we eat, the way we talk, our customs, and the way we dress, our religion differs from them. So that's the only thing.
Thank you so much.
This is crazy. There's evidence all over the place.
So a lot of people do know, a lot of people, white people, black people do know that the people in America, both America, South and North America, are descendants of the true Hebrews. A lot of people do realize this in Israel. But Israel is such a country that everything, it's so political that unfortunately not a lot of people give importance to this fact. And when you approach a white man and you tell him, you know what, I can prove you that the Hebrews were people of color and you are not. So who are you? Usually he gonna talk to you about Holocaust and all stuff like this, and he basically gonna say that I know that you're right, but I don't care because my great parents have been through the Holocaust and I feel safe here. I've been struggling from anti-Semitism and I don't want to struggle, so I feel safe here and I feel good. Yep. This is the answer you're gonna.
Peter, wait a minute. Let's run this back. So you're telling me that many in Israel know this fact, and yet you would tell them, brother, who are you? You know you're not the real children of the Bible. And they will simply say, I know that I'm not, but I don't care. But because I have all of these perks and I have all these benefits that I would rather keep the benefits and keep the lie hidden. Are you telling me that, Peter?
I'm telling you that a lot of people do know. And they say, we all mix. They use excuses. They say, we all mix. You can tell, do you think in Greek, ancient Greeks live in Greece? Do you think you can find Babylonians in Iraq right now? Do you think you can find Persians in Iran right now? No, they're all mixed with the Arabs, and so are we. So what? I belong here. I like it here. I don't want another Holocaust. I feel afraid to be out of Israel because maybe another Holocaust gonna happen to me. And I belong here, and I don't care about what you're saying. This is what the answer you may hear. And a lot of people do know about the truth that the people were people of the Hebrews were people of color, and their descendants may be found in America today.
Waking up to injustice isn't what is going to help this group of people because they're missing who they really are. They weren't just slaves. They're royalty. It's not just about cultural injustice left over from slavery. This is intentional persecution because these people are the chosen ones. Now, I am of the belief that the Hebrew people, all 12 tribes, has people from skin tones from very, very light to red to very, very dark. But most of them had very melanated skin. The Messiah had dark skin. The Messiah was hung on a tree. This isn't just a cultural revolution to get justice back for a community of slave descendants. This is literally a waking up of an entire people to the fact that their entire identity has been hidden from them, stolen from them. They have no idea who they are. So the entire Black community in this country is super excited about this performance, and it's great. It makes a lot of great points. But at the end of the day, it doesn't help these people figure out the real truth. The natives in this country and the African Americans in this country, they're lost tribes of Israel. The real Hebrew people. And that is why that group of people have been persecuted and enslaved. Doesn't matter what the history books tell you. History's a lie.
In the 8th century BC, as noted by historians and the Bible in 1 Kings, the Assyrian Empire conquered the northern kingdom of Israel, captured its people, and dispersed them over Assyrian territory. Historians say some were killed, many were blended into other cultures, and others fled. Thus began the tradition of the lost tribes of Israel. Lemba oral tradition passed on through generations says they came from the rabbinical tribe, the Levites. The Lemba say they fled their original home and traveled to Senna in modern-day Yemen, where they became traders and craftsmen until they were forced to escape war or natural disaster. This drove the Lemba across the Red Sea to Africa. During their journey down the African continent, tradition says the Lemba built great cities of stone. This is where science comes in. Archaeologists have verified the existence of these cities. In addition, at these stone city sites, many artifacts have been discovered. These facts are a direct tie to the oral tradition handed down by generations of Lemba. Tribes all over Africa have kept their traditions and customs, but the Lemba are like no other tribe. Strict adherence to Jewish customs have been watched over by Lemba rabbis. Despite losing their original Torah on the journey from Israel to Zimbabwe, all oral teachings and traditions have been maintained. The same kind of oral teaching described in the Old Testament. Dietary laws, including kosher standards and restrictions on meat, are obeyed. Circumcision. Intermarriage has been strictly forbidden to preserve the culture and bloodline. Traditional rabbinical clothing is worn. In a place thousands of miles away from Israel, detached from all Jewish culture, these African Jews who call themselves original Hebrews are committed to their way of life that has been passed down generation to generation.
People always asked us, who are you?
Bo, I was born a Jew of the Lemba tribe.
Shalom. Anako amade sadiki madrora remba boy.
Lemba boys yamba ndi n'wana wa mushavi ndi mulemba ndi muheveru ndi va Vaisrael.
My name is Modric Mayeresera, and I'm a Lemba Jew, and I'm a father of two.
Valemba vabva vaIsrael nge Judea. Murava dzinndwa dza musi una uwa vana vaIsrael na dzimwe tshaka.
Ndi mashironi. Setho sena sa Lemba, batho bana ba Lemba ba tswa ho kae, se qadile ho kae pele se tlo kgona ho fitla mona Afrika.
Aba balemba ndi Majuda. Aba balemba bo vangi ni Israel.
You are a Jew. We had, it was called Chisi, like the day of rest. People would rest from all the work, but not knowing like why we are resting. Then we realized, no, we've been keeping Shabbat.
Unless we have slaughtered it ourselves, we do not eat.
And like pork, would you eat pork?
No, impossible, impossible. Why would you ask me about pork?
Interestingly enough, I want to ask you a controversial question. They have done some blood samples on the Lemba people. Okay, they have done some blood samples on the Lemba people. What did the result reveal? This is very, very significant. Who wants to take a stab at that?
I'll do that.
Okay. And this is done by the Israeli researchers, right, from Israel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I don't want to dominate the conversation here, but I'm only because I took part in that exercise.
So you were part of this exercise.
I was.
Tell us, when did it take place? When?
At first, there's a friend of mine. His name is Tudo Pafit.
How many years ago? I'm saying this took place.
That is in 1985.
1980?
Yeah, 85.
85. Okay.
Yeah. He took some samples. He took some samples of the Lemba from Berengwa in the Tazemba. It registered the 25%.
Okay.
Jewish.
25% Jewish.
Yes. Then it was repeated again, including the South African Lembas.
Yes.
In some other areas of the Lemba, it registered 45%.
Okay.
Now, when the Israel government heard about about us, that there's something happened to some people in Zimbabwe, they approached me.
The Israeli government approached you?
Yes. They sent me the kit, said, can you get some samples? We don't take blood, we only take saliva from the chicks. Okay. So I collect the saliva on about 60 Lembas, then about 10 non-Lembas. Then I send them to Israel.
Okay.
Yes, in Tel Aviv. I went to Israel.
You went to Israel, you send them the samples.
To a hospital in Israel.
Okay, and what happened?
Now, they invited me to Israel.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there. Then actually, what happened is that they sent me some... They said you should come. The same moment, also Rabbi Jonathan Bennis sent me to Israel.
Okay.
Just as a friend said, I want to buy a ticket to go to Israel.
Okay.
So I went to Israel. So I told the person was my contact that the samples you took. So now, as long as we are coming here, we have to meet. So I met him in Jerusalem. He said, my friend, those samples you brought here, they have caused a stir here in Israel. I said, why do you say so? I said, no, look, you see, there's some blacks there from Ethiopia who do the cleaning the hotels and all that. He said, that boy you're seeing there, his percentage is about 26%. But on you, it's 70%. 70%.
That's significant.
But we cannot release this information because, look, there's no land. And we are at war. And it is a desert.
So are you telling me what I think you're telling me? You're saying they know that there is a high percent of Jewishness and the Israeli government would not allow to release these results to the public?
They know.
That's inconceivable.
They know.
So exploring the work of Dr. Aaron Ilhake, a geneticist known for his thought-provoking research into population genetics and ancient ancestry. His studies have challenged conventional narratives surrounding Jewish origins and the historical movements of peoples. With a background in bioinformatics and statistical genomics, Ilhake has sparked both academic interest and debate. Join us as we take a closer look at his research, its implications, and the controversies it has stirred. Dr. Ilhake was published on the National Library of Medicine website on January 16, 2013. The title of the article: Highlight: Out of Khazaria, Evidence for Jewish Genome Lacking. Aaron Ilhake, a geneticist at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, thinks so. In a recently published study in Genome Biology Evolution, he is calling for a rewrite of commonly held assumptions about Jewish ancestry. Instead of being primarily the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel, present-day Jewish populations are, finds Ilhake, primarily the children of a Turkish people who lived in what is now Russia, north of Georgia, east of Ukraine.
Say that again?
Present-day Jewish populations are, finds Ilhake, primarily the children of a Turkish people who lived in what is now Russia, north of Georgia, east of Ukraine. Present-day Jewish populations are, finds Ilhake, primarily the children of a Turkish people who lived in what is now Russia, north of Georgia, east of Ukraine.
Holy Merlin the Magician!
This civilization, the Khazars, converted from tribal religions to Judaism between the 7th and 9th centuries. The controversy cut into by Ilhake's work runs deep, far past the lab bench. Among some circles, his conclusions are bound to be unpopular. This is the first scientific paper to prove the Khazarian hypothesis and reject the Rhineland hypothesis, he says. And with it about 40 years of research, although his findings will not be welcome in all circles, Ilhake's interest is more medical than political. All I want is to help my colleagues who are studying genetic disorders, he says. I hope this work will open up a new era in genetic studies where population stratification will be used more correctly. Previous studies had, for example, combined the question of similarity among and between Jewish populations and the question of ancestry and relatedness to non-Jewish populations. Ilhake viewed these questions separately. Jewish communities are less homogeneous than is popularly thought, he says, with Jewish communities along the former Khazarian border showing the most heterogeneity. His second question centered on ancestry. When comparing Jewish communities to their non-Jewish neighbors, Caucasus or Levant populations, which is the closest to Jews. All Eurasian Jewish communities are closer to Caucasus populations. All Eurasian Jewish communities are closer to Caucasus populations, he writes, with Central European Jews closer to Italian non-Jews as the exception. Not one of the 8 evaluated Jewish populations were closer to Levant populations.
Are you serious right now, bro?
In conclusion, they're not like us.
A lot of people are waking up now.
What do you think about this topic?
Please leave your comment in the comment section below. Please be nice. Please click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell to get notification for more videos in the future. Thank you for watching this video on the Berean Scholars channel.